Welcome, Shadow Seekers, to American Shadows, Crimes and Chronicles. Today, we're unearthing a tale that'll haunt your thoughts long after it ends. Whether you're glued to the screen or just listening in, you're in for a wild ride through history's darkest corners. If you're new, hit subscribe to join our mission of exposing America's hidden truths. Regulars, your likes fuel our journey into the unknown. Now, let's peel back the layers of time and reveal the secrets beneath. Ready? Let's begin. Tragedy in the fog, the crash of Delta Airlines, Flight 723. Gather round, folks, for a tale that'll make you think twice about complaining about airport fog delays. On July 31st, 1973, the skies over Boston, Massachusetts were about to become the stage for one of the deadliest aviation disasters in New England history. Delta Airlines, Flight 723, AM McDonnell Douglas DC-931 aircraft, began its journey in Burlington, Vermont, making stops in Manchester, New Hampshire, and then Portland, Maine, before its final, fateful approach to Logan International Airport in Boston. At the controls was Captain John R. Stables, a veteran pilot with First Officer Sidney A. Kaplan beside him. In the cabin, 83 passengers settled in for what they thought would be a routine landing. But Mother Nature had other plans. As the DC-9 approached Boston, it encountered a thick blanket of fog. Visibility was down to a mere 1.5 miles. Now, folks, that might seem like a lot on the ground, but when you're hurtling through the air in a metal tube, it's about as clear as mud. At approximately 10:05 a.m., Flight 723 began its final approach to runway 4R. The flight was cleared for an instrument landing approach. For those of you not versed in pilot speak, that means they were relying on their instruments rather than visual cues to guide them down. It's a common procedure, but on this day, it would prove tragically inadequate. As the plane descended through the fog, something went terribly wrong. The aircraft was too low, too soon. At 11:08 a.m., just as one of the flight attendants was making a routine landing announcement, Flight 723 struck a seawall at the edge of Boston Harbor, about 165 feet to the right of the runway centerline and about 3,000 feet short of the runway threshold. The impact was catastrophic. The aircraft broke apart and burst into flames. Despite the heroic efforts of rescue teams, all 89 souls on board perished. It was a grim scene, one that would haunt investigators and first responders for years to come. But why? How could a routine landing go so terribly wrong? The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched an extensive investigation, and what they found was a perfect storm of factors that led to this tragedy. First and foremost was the weather. The fog was thick enough to obscure visual references, forcing the pilots to rely heavily on their instruments. But here's where things get tricky. The investigation revealed that the pilots might have been misled by an optical illusion known as the black hole effect. This phenomenon can occur when landing over water or dark terrain at night or in low visibility conditions. It can make pilots think they're higher than they actually are. But that wasn't all. The NTSB also found issues with the Instrument Landing System, ILS, at Logan Airport. The glide slope antenna, which helps guide planes to the runway, had been displaced due to construction. This meant that the glide path it was broadcasting was higher than normal. In simple terms, the pilots thought they were on the right path when they were actually too low. Adding to the confusion, there were communication issues between the flight crew and air traffic control. In the critical final moments of the flight, these breakdowns in communication might have contributed to the crew's misunderstanding of their true position. The tragedy of Flight 723 sent shockwaves through the aviation industry. It highlighted the critical importance of accurate instrument landing systems, the need for better training to combat visual illusions in low visibility conditions, and the crucial role of clear communication. In the wake of the disaster, the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, implemented several changes. They mandated improved training for pilots on visual illusions and low visibility approaches. This led to the development of Crew Resource Management, CRM, training programs focusing on improving coordination and decision-making among flight crews. The incident also accelerated the development and implementation of Ground Proximity Warning Systems, GPWS, which alert pilots when they are too close to the ground. Weather reporting and monitoring systems were enhanced, providing more accurate and timely information to pilots and air traffic controllers. Logan Airport itself saw significant changes. The displaced glide slope was corrected, and additional visual aids were installed to help pilots during low visibility approaches. The crash also led to a re-evaluation of airport approach procedures across the country and improved emergency response procedures at airports. But perhaps the most far-reaching consequence was the push for the development of more advanced landing systems. This disaster, along with other similar incidents, fueled research into what would eventually become the Microwave Landing System, MLS, and later, the modern GPS-based landing systems we use today. For the families of the 89 victims, no safety improvement could ever fill the void left by their loved ones, but their loss was not in vain. Every time a plane lands safely in fog or low visibility, it carries with it the echoes of the lessons learned from Flight 723. As we reflect on this tragedy, we're reminded of the constant battle between human skill and nature's unpredictability. The story of Delta Flight 723 serves as a sobering reminder of the importance of vigilance, continuous improvement, and the heavy responsibility borne by those who take to the skies. This is American Shadows, where we peer into the mists of history to illuminate the stories that shaped our nation. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most profound changes arise from our darkest moments. And the next time you're frustrated by a fog delay at the airport, take a moment to appreciate the safety measures born from tragedies like Flight 723.